Temp check. What kind of summer are we having this year? A family road trip summer? A beach bum summer? Or a wake me up when the sun sets summer? With Instacart, choose your own adventure and skip the shopping side quests. Where available, you can get ice cream delivered to your hotel, sunscreen to the pool, or cold brew to your bed. Well, door, in as fast as 30 minutes. Wherever you find yourself this summer, you can get the goods. Download Instacart for free delivery on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum $10 per order. Excludes restaurants. Additional terms and fees apply.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is The Briefing Room? It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system.
If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served.
Hi, I'm Detective Dave.
I'm Detective Dan. Together, we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood.
So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished.
From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th.
We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
And welcome back to Little Cuts, our weekly minisode where we dig into the things that we've been consuming, basically. I'm Terry.
And I'm Mary Beth. This week we are talking more gialli, more found footage, and some spooky TV. I know, it's shocking.
The first 2 of that I don't think is going to be changing for a while.
I know, whatever. It's fine.
So before we do get to that, we did have a comment. Well, we had 2 comments, actually. One from Kate Miles that kind of tweeted at us about a Choose Your Own Adventure book, The Green Slime. She said that not a movie, but this gave me serious kinder trauma. And do you remember those books, the kind of Choose Your Own Adventure books?
Yes, I remember the Choose Your Own Adventure books. I read a lot of horror books growing up, but I definitely remember these. And I think a lot of the ones that I did were like fantasy ones. I have like a very distinct memory of reading them in English class too. Like we had quiet reading time. What about you, Terry?
Do you remember the I don't remember what they were called, but they were the fantasy ones, but they had like places for you to roll a die and put numbers in.
Was it the Dungeons and Dragons ones?
See, I'm trying to think if it was the D&D ones. I don't remember. There was like I don't remember what it was, but I remember picking these books up at like the sort of like antique-y type places, and like, yeah, they were basically Choose Your Own Adventures, but there was like places to write in numbers. Like you had to fight skeletons in one of them. And,
that's
wild. But it was like, so it was sort of like the Choose Your Own Adventure, but you could also die because you had like a hit point to keep track of. And I really wish I could remember what they were called.
Oh my God. I was like always so anxious about Choose Your Own Adventure because I always wanted to choose the right one. Like they just gave me like anxiety.
But it's so much fun when you fail. I loved failing in them. Is always like,
oh, I hated it. Oh, that has a lot to say about who I am as a person, but I hated failing at them. But I love horror books. They're so good.
Horror books are so good. In fact, I did get some for a Christmas present from someone that I'm really excited to dig into. Got The Sundown Motel, which I saw Megan Navarro tweeting about.
Is it from like a series?
No, it's a new book. Set in like 2 different time periods.
Is it like an adult book or is it for kids?
Oh, this is an adult book. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And then another book I just got too that I'm excited to read is Mexican Gothic.
Oh my God, I need to read that. I want to read it.
I can't remember, someone on the podcast mentioned it, and then I saw Megan tweeting about that too, and so I added it to my list, and I got both of those for a Secret Santa gift, and I'm really excited.
Oh, and I actually have been reading something really interesting that I wanted to talk about very, very briefly.
What's that?
So, not too long ago, Steve got me this book called The Five: The Untold Lives of the Women Killed by Jack the Ripper.
What?
And It is so fucking good because I, like, you know, as many of us love true crime, and, you know, you hear about Jack the Ripper and talking about who he is and like the women he killed, but they're mostly just like, you know, collateral and dead bodies. But this book is about the 5 women and the lives they led before they were killed, and talking a lot about like the workhouse conditions in London and how difficult it was to just like function in that society, and how, you know, even if some of these women had good lives to start, it wasn't always, it's a tumultuous journey for a lot of them. So it's really,
Wow.
really good. I've only read one of the women's stories so far, but it's just like fascinating. And I'm not usually into books like nonfiction history books like this, but it's really amazing. And I just love the way of like telling the stories of people who deserve to have their stories told, and not to just be like names that are attached to a man. So
Yeah. I mean, I do think that's part of the problem that I do kind of have a lot with sort of the true crimeness of where we are at in a society, is that kind of, it's not glorification of the serial killer, but it's a lot more focused on the kind of like grotesqueries of the crime vice the actual victim. So that kind of makes me interested.
yeah, so it's The 5, The Untold Lives of the Women Killed by Jack the Ripper. It came out last year, so it's pretty new. And it's written by a woman, Haley Rubenhold.
Oh, good.
So
even better.
It's really... Anyway, I got sidetracked by books. But yeah, I would highly recommend that book, especially if you're into history and maybe even history that isn't the usual canon of which we hear.
Yeah. And then we also did have a comment from Mario on Twitter. It's a Mario. I love that. I love that name.
It's Mario.
Where they were asking about us including the names of the films a little bit more that we recommend, because, you know, you might be working or writing things down or doing some other stuff and you want to catch the names. So we are going to both talk about the names a little bit more, and we're also going to include them in all the show notes from here on out, so that if you miss it in the episode, you can always look at the details.
Yes. Thank you for that recommendation.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that, for sure.
So, Mary Beth, what have you been watching this week?
So, okay, what have I been watching? So first, I just want to briefly mention Promising Young Woman, since the embargo is up.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it. I reviewed it. I didn't like it. I don't agree with a lot of the things being said about it. I won't go too deep into it because I know a lot of people like it. And I also don't disagree. I'm not mad or upset about that. I went through like this thing yesterday where I was like, oh my God, am I wrong for not liking this? I don't want people to think I disparaged their thoughts. But basically, it wasn't for me. I know that a lot of people like it and are probably going to like it, but just from my own personal and critical perspective, not what I expected at all.
Yeah. I kind of think, I mean, we've talked about it a lot off of the podcast, but I agree with you. I'm, for some reason, the people that I got my screener for, I'm embargoed from reviewing it until January. I don't know. I don't get it, but I'm going to play by the rules. But I'm kind of in the same boat. It just wasn't, it's not for me.
It's not for me.
But it's sort of a hard topic. I mean, you know, it's like people react to things differently than other people, and it's just...
Yeah, and especially because, like, okay, I'm going to put a little trigger warning here, y'all, talking about sexual assault very briefly, but, I mean, sexual assault survivors, I think I am a sexual assault survivor, and I am more interested in hearing those perspectives on this movie simply because that's the topic. And I'm not saying that if you weren't assaulted, your opinion isn't wanted or like appreciated, but I do want to know, because especially with rape revenge movies, like some of us, like myself included, find them very cathartic and interesting, and others avoid them like the plague, which is, again, very understandable. So I'm just curious about the conversations between survivors and what they think of the movie, and if, you know, I'd love to have discussions about like why it's empowering to them, because I am curious, like from a very genuine perspective, would like to hear about it and want to like have those conversations, because I think this is a good movie to have conversations about. I don't think they're conversations that are going to be had in Twitter threads, because there's absolutely no room for nuance. But I think there's a really interesting dialogue that this movie can start. And I mean, I didn't hate all of it, but I think its ultimate message is very awful. But I think there's some interesting stuff in there. And I mean, hey, it's a big fuck you to the patriarchy. So, like, I can't complain about that either.
Yeah. Fair.
Anyway, besides that, on a more positive note. So, okay, last time I talked about the Blackwell Ghost.
Oh, yeah.
And then I watched the Blackwell Ghost 2.
Oh.
And they're so good so far.
Is the sequel good?
Yes, it is. So there's 5 of them.
Right.
And they seem to be pretty consistently good. And something that I like just thought of watching the second one was like, this is one of those rare found footage movies where he doesn't die, and you know he doesn't die because the guy who makes them claims they're real. And it's so fascinating watching a found footage movie where you know that the guy is going to come out okay. Like, it feels a little less voyeuristic, but it also feels much more intense to me because it's like, you know, in found footage, you're experiencing it together, but he very much is often like addressing the people because he's making this for people who want them. And, you know, there's a lot of like people really love these movies in like found footage Facebook groups are really into them. And so he like addresses the people who love these movies. And it's like an interesting community building aspect to this movie. Yeah.
So what's this one about? So
this one is it's basically as an extension of the first one where he goes back to the same house where the Ruth Blackwell is haunting it. So it's the same house, it's the same ghost, but this time he gets some more information from a woman who grew up with Ruth Blackwell, and Ruth Blackwell in this story is a woman who killed a bunch of kids and threw them down a well in the basement. Oh. And so she's not a good person by any means. And so this takes place after Turner the filmmaker gets some more evidence that like more kind of a lead. He finds some interesting things that are really grotesque. And then the owner of the house lets him know that he's going to sell it. So he has one final like 3-day overnight investigation where shit pops off. So I think it's really, I mean, again, like, thank you to Cephalopod Gal for bringing this to my attention. Yeah. And the 3, 4, and 5, I think he's like, he basically at the end of this one says, like, I thank you for changing my life, Ruth Blackwell. This isn't like the end. And I think the rest of them are addressing like other ghost stories that he investigates. Oh, okay. Yeah. So I really liked the way that this all wrapped up.
You're going to watch more?
Yes, I am. Because they're relatively short, and I really like Turner's personality. He's kind of just like a dad, and he's very personable and very sweet, and I kind of like that in the found footage where it doesn't feel like he's acting. He's just like a dude, and he acts like it's real. Like, this is a dude with a camera who's just like, oh, that kind of freaked me out. Like, it's not exaggerated scares. He just like tries to act all cool when he hears these noises. So I just really like him as a personality, and I think that's really helpful. So I'm gonna watch the rest of them when I have time. So now to our jolly journey this week. What did we watch this week, Terry?
We watched The Red Queen Kills. How many times? Not once. Not twice. I think it was like, what, 7 times?
7 times? Yeah.
I think it's 7. The Red Queen Kills 7 times. I love Giallo titles. I love them.
I know. It's just like a full sentence. Whatever.
And this one is fine. It is like a thesis statement. It's like
it's
the Red Queen
statement.
She's a Red Queen and she kills 7 times, and this is the body of her work.
It's a subject and a verb. True.
What did you think of it?
Okay, I love this.
Or what was it about? Let's start there.
Oh, okay, so this is about a Red Queen who kills 7.
Duh, it was in the title, Terry.
Self-explanatory. So this movie is about 2 sisters who fucking hate each other.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
they do. Really don't like each other. Their grandfather dies, and they inherit this family castle that is supposed to be haunted by a murderous ancestor. There's a curse that was it every 100 years that she would come back and kill.
I think it was 100 years.
You know, and she'll kill 7 times. And lo and behold, 100 years later, someone or something is killing 7 times. And that sounds really simplistic and silly, but it's actually really, really interesting. This is a much more like it was directed by Emiliano Maraglia, and this giallo has the most feminine energy out of all of the ones we've watched so far, feminine. And I love it.
Like, most of the characters are women.
Most of them are women, and they're all fabulous. Like,
oh my God, the fashion in this movie.
The fashion, because it's all about fashion. So Kitty is one of the sisters. She's one of the main characters, and she is a fashion photographer. And it's just like all these amazing sequences of women in like fancy clothes getting their pictures taken. And it's cool to see Kitty as a fashion photographer, because so often you see fashion photographers played by men looking at women, but it's a woman looking at a woman. And I love that. I just think it's just neat. It's just neat.
It is just neat.
I'm like giddy about this movie. I don't know why. It was just like such a beautiful thing to look at and enjoyable.
It's gorgeous.
And again, it's gorgeous.
It's really beautiful. I think it's really beautifully filmed. I think the aesthetic choices that are made in this. I think, like, you sent me a screenshot of the one dude who is like rocking a cloak or like a robe that is also like short like length.
It's like you can almost see his dick. It's so funny.
It's so
and like
fabulous.
It's so fabulous. And his apartment has like this wallpaper that's like green and white and yellow striped. Like, these giallo movies have the best apartments and the best rooms, and it's like movie after movie. The set design is absolutely astounding and gorgeous, and makes me want to redecorate my house.
Well, and I also love that we have that. Not only do you have this like very high fashion world of like Italy in this time. Is it Italy? No, they're in Germany at this in the movie. So like you have like this high fashion of this foreign fashion, but then it's also mashed against very gothic, like a very gothic story of like sisters hating each other, and like this sort of like almost psychosexual, like in this gothic castle that has like that floods at one point and has like a rat problem,
just like coming out of pipes, like
people
out
just
of the stone floor,
just walking through the basement with bats flying above them. Like,
and she's just,
so
just like,
nonchalant.
Bats,
It's
whatever,
whatever,
just a bat,
you know. I love the juxtaposition of that sort of like high fashion modern world with like this very traditional gothic story. And I like that there's sort of like a supernatural tinge to it. Like, it's not, but there is sort of, you know?
Yeah, I love that too. I also really like the use of the color red. Like, a lot of these movies obviously have like a color in the title, but the way that they use the colors is so purposeful. There's this really interesting, I think it's towards the end, where Kitty is walking through the castle and she's wearing this bright red outfit, and she looks almost foreign in the Victorian castle. She looks so modern against this Victorian background. And it's just the framing and the way this film is shot is just absolutely gorgeous. And Terry and I were talking, it's a little bit slow.
Mm-hmm.
Like
there are some pacing issues, I think.
I think we can kind of agree that a lot of giallo has that problem.
Yeah.
Sorry if that's an unpopular opinion, but I don't mind it. I don't mind that. But I was not as distracted by that, I think, because it was so pretty to look at that I didn't even think about it. But this is really, really awesome. And definitely a giallo that I haven't heard talked about as much. I know that Anya Stanley brought it to your attention, Terry.
Yeah.
So.
And you know what I also love is it has Sybil Danning in it as Lulu.
Oh my God, like, Lulu!
I wrote down one of her lines where she's like, basically she's coming on to the main character's like man, and she's like, even the police know that I'm an incredible nymphomaniac. And I just loved that line so much. I'm like, yes, queen, you own that.
Yes, I love when female characters are like super sexual and they just like, yeah, I'm super sexual. It's just like, oh my God. It's
even the
just
police know.
It's so good. And she's like, you guys can talk about sex. You and Kitty can talk about sex, but I'll like actually have sex with you. And she's like, I'll be like the second person. I don't care. It's just like very sexually liberated in a great way.
This whole movie felt that way. Like, even with the man that she was with, and they're going out looking for a prostitute to have a threesome with. Like, it's very nonchalant, and the police don't seem to care that's why they were there. So it's like it has this sort of like really kind of, I mean, it does feel like the 70s, that kind of 70s era of like nonchalant sex that I think is so. I don't know. It felt so like authentic and so wonderful. I don't know. It was so weird to think about, but
I know. But wow.
And the Red Queen, her laugh.
Her laugh, like the most diabolical, evil laugh.
She comes around and wearing like this sort of red dress, and then she kills people, and she goes running off going, ha 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 ha. And maybe I'll try to incorporate her laugh in here so you guys can hear exactly what it is, because it's so fantastic. I love it.
Same. So, okay, besides the Red Queen kill 7 times, Terry, what have you been watching and enjoying this week?
Well, okay, so I haven't been watching this, but I want to throw this out there for listeners. I know there are so many streaming services out there, and I know no one wants to add another one to it, but I'm telling you, if you have Apple TV Plus, or even if you don't, and you want to try to get like a free trial, the first season of Servant that came out late last year and early this year is probably my favorite horror. No, it's probably my favorite television show that I've seen in a very long time. I think it goes toe to toe with Flanagan's Hell House and Bly Manor series in terms of quality. It has a fantastic cast of Lauren Ambrose and Rupert Grint.
Oh my God.
AKA Ron Weasley.
Yes.
He is playing a kind of creepo brother in this. But the story is about a Philadelphia couple who are in mourning after an unspeakable tragedy takes the life of their kid. And the wife, to cope, has like started picking up one of these like dolls that is very realistic, to the point that she thinks that it is real, and they hire a nanny to watch over the doll. And in the first episode, the doll becomes human, and it goes from there. And it's very culty. It's very mysterious. It's created by M. Night. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Shyamalan. Okay. It's directed by him, and it's probably the best thing that he's ever done. It is fabulous. And I really wish more people were watching it, because season 2 is coming out in January, and I will be covering it. I am so excited for it to come out.
So it's on Apple TV, you said, right?
Yes, it's on Apple TV Plus. And I mean,
another streaming service.
I know, but there's actually some really good shows on it. Not just like Servant is really good, but also Mythic Quest, which is about a video game company and sort of like them trying to create this MMO, this massively multiplayer online game, and sort of like the inner struggles of game development. And that has Ashley Birch in it, who I love. I don't know if you know who Ashley Birch is, but
the name sounds familiar.
She had like this YouTube show called Hey Ash, What You Playin'?
Oh.
And then she voices Tiny Tina on the Borderlands games, and like she's like a voice actor now. But she's in it. She's fab. I love her. She's queer. I think she's fantastic. But yeah, so I think I get it. Adding another streaming service to the already crowded lineup is a lot. But I'm telling you, Servant is so good. On the other side of things, I also watched The Stand. I've seen the first 4 episodes of it, which is the CBS All Access adaptation of the Stephen King novel, of course. The ubiquitous Stephen King novel that I think everyone knows about, pretty much. Have you ever read it, the book, Mary
No,
Beth?
I was too scared of it. Okay, scared of it means like how daunting how long it was.
No,
I think that was, yeah.
It's his longest book. It's longer than it in the complete and uncut version. The cut version I think is 800 pages, but you don't want to read that one. You want to read the uncut. So I'm kind of mixed on The Stand. This adaptation. It has a phenomenal cast. James Marsden, who is Mr. Hot. I love him. I think he is so incredibly attractive, is in it.
Yes,
Whoopi Goldberg is in it.
Oh.
Amber Heard is in it.
Well, Amber Heard has some issues.
Yes, she does.
She got some issues.
Odessa Young is in it, though, who is in, I don't think you've seen it yet, Mary Beth, but Assassination Nation from 2018. She was in that.
She was in Shirley, wasn't she?
Was she in Shirley?
Odessa Young?
Yeah. She was.
Yeah, she was in Shirley, and she was very good.
Yeah, so she's in this. Like, Greg Kinnear is in this. A bunch of like character actors that like you look at them and you're like, oh, I know that person is in it. Catherine McNamara, Shadowhunters show, and she was in Maze Runner. She's in it. So it has a stacked cast. I'm having a huge problem with the way it's framed. It's doing the Lost thing where it's telling a storyline in like the beginning throes of the plague and then 5 months later. So there's a lot of constant back and forth.
Oh, okay.
And that's not how the book is. And I get you have to make some concessions, but I think the power of the book is that you spend so much time with these characters, seeing their struggles through the plague and not knowing what's going to happen. And then they finally band together and then shit starts to hit the fan again. And so like here where it's like, I feel like it kind of negates a lot of that beginning struggle, because you see, instead of it being like a progressive tale, it's almost as if like, here's where we are now and here's where they were 5 months ago. So it almost feels like individual prequels for each character's story as opposed to like a story unfolding in front of you, if that makes sense.
Do they have those like not prequel-esque things in the book? Like, is that discussed at all?
It starts right as like the pandemic is happening, where the disease is called Captain Trips, and it's like gets out there and it follows these characters.
What is it called?
Captain Trips.
Sorry.
And it follows these characters as they are, because like the disease is like 99.4% lethal. And so it follows these like very small number of people as they struggle through this sort of apocalyptically happening America, that are also having this dream of either or sometimes both, either this woman in the book in Nebraska, or this devil man in Las Vegas. And so you start to see the characters sort of like convalescing in these different areas, and they pass each other and everything. And so like the way the book is set up, vice the way it is in the movie or the show, where it's like 5 months here and then this is what happened in the past, and it sort of does this like jumping back and forth that it kind of kills my suspense, because I'm like, yeah, we know you survived, so like nothing is gonna matter in these flashbacks other than you're like using it as sort of like a Lost vehicle, like the television show Lost, where it's like, here's why he's doing it now. And it's instead of it unfolding, I don't know. I'm having a real tough time dealing with the way it's framed. But other than that, it's really good. Like Alexander Skarsgård plays the dark man, the evil guy. And of course he's, yeah. So,
those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, mine too. And like, I'm like, yeah, tempt me, Dark Daddy. I can understand why someone would want to be tempted by Mr. Randall Flagg, the Dark Man, in this, because it's Alexander Skarsgård. But yeah, so like I think it's good. It's being really faithful as opposed in concerning with like the characters and the plot. It's just the way it's tackled is really it's an issue for me that I'm slowly trying to work myself through. But I've seen the first 4 episodes, and I think that if you can get past that issue, you'll probably like what it's selling if you like the original story.
Okay. And where is that streaming again?
That is on CBS All Access. So
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Which, I mean,
I can't keep up.
I know. And that's another one too, where it's like there might just be one show on that you watch.
I know.
Like, I mean, if you like Star Wars or Star Trek, then that's
someone's gonna come for you.
I know, right? Sorry, I forgot the stars, both wars and treks. My bad.
So that does it for this week's minisode. But before we wrap up, Terry, who are we talking to on Monday?
We're going to talk to director Justin Dyke, who directed Anything for Jackson, which is currently streaming on Shudder, and we are talking about The Princess Bride.
It's such a cool one to pick to talk about, and it was really cool to revisit it and think about that movie that is just like ingrained in our subconsciousnesses.
And it's also kind of fun to talk about that we're talking to this director who has spent a lot of his career directing Christmas movies, and this episode's coming out on Christmas. Totally not planned, but we'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. So next week's Little Cuts lands on Christmas Day, which is wild, but that's already here.
I know.
So to celebrate, I guess, we are going to be watching... We're not going to watch a Giallo. We're going to watch Dial Code Santa.
Yeah.
On Shudder. So if you want to watch along, please do. I'm very excited. I have not seen this. Terry has. I've heard many a good thing about this movie, so I'm very excited. And then we're also both going to consume some kind of Christmas horror content.
Yeah.
Because why not? Christmas horror is everything, and I've discovered that mostly this year. And it's like they're going to be the perfect thing to listen to after you've opened presents in the morning and like you're kind of just like in a lull for the day, and you can just listen to us talk about Christmas horror.
Or you've had enough about people.
Yeah, exactly. You want to like run away.
If you're celebrating with people, although I guess technically
or,
this year you might not be.
If you're celebrating by yourself or with a smaller group, we'll be there with you.
Exactly. That's what I'll be doing. Celebrating in a very, very small group. So
yeah, exactly. Me too. Please, small groups, everybody.
Yeah, stay safe.
Be safe. But y'all, you've heard from us, but we want to hear from you. Did you watch a film that we watched and have some thoughts? Do you have suggestions for movies that we talk about? Y'all are really sending us some good ones. JD Gravett sent me a good one, the Unwelcoming House that I'm going to watch this week. So I'm excited for that one. So y'all are sending some great suggestions. Please keep them coming. I am enjoying them immensely. But if you haven't sent us any yet and want to, you can email us at scarredforlifepodcast@email.com, or you can reach out to us directly on Twitter. I'm at MB McAndrews.
And I'm at Gaily Dreadful.
Make sure to follow the podcast at Scarred Podcast.
And don't forget to review, rate, and subscribe.
Thank you to Steve Barnold for our artwork. Thank you to Sean Keller for our music. Thank you to everyone for listening. Stay safe out there. Most importantly, stay creepy.
And until next time.
Won't somebody please think of the children? Won't somebody please think of the children? Somebody please think of the children!
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is The Briefing Room?
It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system.
If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served.
Hi, I'm Detective Dave.
I'm Detective Dan. Together, we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood.
So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished.
From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th. We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.